For decades, globalization was presented as a force that would connect countries, expand trade, and reduce conflict. But today, the global economy looks very different. Trade is becoming political. Sanctions, tariffs, energy routes are increasingly used as instruments of power. For many countries, especially developing and middle-income states, this question is no longer only how to grow, but how to grow without becoming dependent, isolated, or trapped between competing blocs. And these questions go directly to the future of development, trade, and multilateral cooperation, areas at the heart of my guest's work. And our guest today is Rebeca Grynspan, Secretary General of UN Trade and Development, former Vice President of Costa Rica, and a candidate for the next Secretary General of the United Nations. Madam Grynspan, you are so welcome to Power.
Thank you so much for having me. Just a little correction. I am the Secretary General of the UN Conference on Trade and Development, but on leave, because I took leave to dedicate myself to the campaign.
Then, with your permission, let me start with your candidacy. You are widely seen as one of the strong contenders in the race to become the next Secretary General of the United Nations. But if to be sincere, this race comes at a different and maybe a difficult time. Wars continue, even the United Nations faces financial pressure. Even many countries question whether multilateralism still delivers. So, if you become, or when you become Secretary General, what should the United Nations do differently from day one?
Yeah. No, thank you very much for saying that. And I think that your introduction is very strong, very good, because it's true that we are living through very complex and conflicting times. And it is affecting many countries in the world. Conflicts are going up. Trust in the institutions is going down. And as I say, time is running out for us to do something about it and to preclude and avoid that the cooperation and interdependence that served the world well before will not be thrown out for the countries that still need trade and investment and integration to the world economy to be able to thrive. And I think that that's one important thing now, precisely in the race for the Secretary General of the UN. One of the first things that I will do, and I have said this very strongly, is to bring the UN back at the table where the negotiations to end wars, to end conflicts, to mediate, to make peace are happening. If we are not there, we cannot influence the outcome. So we need to be at the table, and we need to bring the instruments, the tools, the knowledge, the experience that we have accumulated all these years to be able to be of service to the peace and security agenda in the world.
It's also about the diplomacy, right? You have recently said, if I'm not mistaken, to the Deutsche Welle, that the world is crying for diplomacy, right?
It's true.
So
yes.
Diplomacy today is also about economics, it's about tariffs, let's say sanctions, even stock markets, etc. So this also brings us directly to the central question of power, maybe. I mean, is the global economy still a space for cooperation, or has it become another battlefield?
It's a wonderful question. I really believe that geoeconomics had certain independence from geopolitics before. And that space, that independent space, has shrunk. So now, in a way, geopolitics and geoeconomics are two sides of the same coin. And so geoeconomics is dependent on geopolitics, but also geopolitics is dependent on geoeconomics. Let me give you an example with the tariffs and all what happened in 2025. Yes, when tariff went up and there was a change completely in the trade regime that we had before. But at the end, you know, there was no complete open tariff war. And we ask ourselves why. And it's because countries restrain themselves because they know the consequence of an open tariff war will be much worse for everybody. And one of the reasons why we didn't get to the worst case scenario in that we imagine as economists, yes, on the trade war is because the US and China at the end negotiated. The US and Europe at the end negotiated. So there were negotiations taking place, and everybody at the end believed that negotiation was a better way forward than a total tariff war. So interdependence at the end cannot be marginalized completely. At the end, you end up negotiating because it's better for your economy, even those that believe more in tariffs than the others.
Mm-hmm. And if we go back to our region, let's say including Azerbaijan, actually Azerbaijan is positioning itself as a, let's say, connectivity hub through the middle corridor, right? And it's all about the energy routes, it's about the supply chains, logistics, even digital infrastructure, right? But sometimes we do see that connectivity also raises question of dependency. For some countries, it's about choosing the size. I mean, how can countries stay open to all their partners without, let's say, becoming dependent on one bloc or one market or even one currency?
First of all, I really believe that there is a kind of a back to regionalism thing happening in the world. Yes, regions are looking around and see what else can we do together. Yes, and maybe there are synergies and more cooperation, more integration that we can have between us to be able to be more successful in how we insert ourselves in the global economy. So your region is a very interesting one. You know, you are bringing Central Asia, connecting Central Asia with Europe and China. And obviously that connectivity brings a dynamism and the possibility of trade and of regions that will develop around that connectivity increases. And so that is good for you. Now, you are not doing that to close yourself in a region.
Definitely.
You are doing that to integrate better to
in
the
opposite
world.
way, yeah.
Exactly. So if we have what we call open regionalism, that will be good. You will have these synergies of regional integration together with the opportunities that the global economy gives you. And I think that that's the right way to go.
It's something different from the globalization, right?
It's a bit different, yes, because blocs will become more important. For example, Africa. Africa's integration free trade area is a huge opportunity for Africa. One of the problems that they have to advance the project is that the connectivity between the African countries is very low. So they need to invest a lot in the infrastructure, in the connectivity, in the convergence of trade standards and norms to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that the integration will bring. But they will be able to negotiate much better with the world if they are integrated and they are a bigger market with economies of scale. They will integrate themselves in the value chains much better if they have a more unified voice than every one of them apart. And that is more or less what is happening.
Maybe that's why dialogue platforms also matters and important. For instance, now we are sitting in the headquarters of Nizami Gencevi International Center, and we all know this center is becoming a kind of meeting point of global North and also global South, right? Bringing together leaders, former heads of states, governments, policymakers, even international institutions like. And in today's fractured, let's say, geopolitical environment, can these kind of platforms, I mean, Global Baku Forum, build trust between the regions?
I really believe so. And I think that the work that the Nizami Gencevi International Center is doing is amazing. Is north-south, east-west, and is a point of not only dialogue, but of a meeting point and then you gain perspective and you gain a different way of looking at what is happening everywhere else. So the capacity of convergence increases and the probability of convergence increases. That's how I see the Baku Forum that I have come for 3 years in a row. And every time it has been even better than the other, yes? So the interest is there. As you said before, as I say, the world is crying for diplomacy. This is also diplomacy. Is the capacity of us to meet, to share our knowledge, our perspectives, and to discuss about the solutions for such a complex world. That's a way also that I see the United Nations. Yes, the United Nations is the only universal organization of the world. It has the legitimacy of having all the countries in the institution, and they have equal voice in the General Assembly. And so it's a unique space for diplomacy. At the same time, if you allow me, let me say, the United Nations has to partner with these other organizations, with the Nizami Ganjavi International Center, with the regional organizations that exist today and did not exist in 1945 when the UN was born, with the new actors like Azerbaijan, yes, that is a new voice, a new regional voice, or in other parts of the world there are new actors, new mediators. So let's partner with the civil society, with the private sector. They have knowledge and capacities that are very important to solve the problems of the world today. So let's refocus ourselves in the things the UN can do well and is unique in doing, and let's partner with others that also have solutions, knowledge, capacity, dialogue spaces, and ideas to share.
Madam Grynspan, actually we are meeting just after the WOF 13, and it is the second largest international event that ever held in Azerbaijan. So one of the central questions of this forum was the future of the housing, resilient cities, and also the sustainable communities. But beyond the forum itself, I believe the main question, or one of the main questions, still remains: who should finance the cities of the future?
Yes, I was Minister of Housing of my country. Precisely when I was Vice President, I was also for 2 years Minister of Housing. It's the most challenging job that I have had, but also the most rewarding, because you really see how when you talk about human dignity finds a place when you have a house, when you have a place that is safe for you and for your family. And housing and building homes, not only houses, and communities, is one of the most important things to maintain social cohesion, stability, hope in the future for the population. So what happened here in Baku with the WOF, with the World Urban Forum, was amazing. You know, there was such a good energy and perspective for the world. Now, financing, yes. First of all, you need the global community and because you need global finance to complement what you can do at home. You need foreign direct investment, you need loans from the multilateral development banks, if you want to lower the cost of capital, because affordability has to come as first priority, yes? And so if you want to make housing affordable, you have to lower the cost of capital. And foreign direct investment, multilateral development banks can help a lot to be able to do that at scale. But at the same time, you need the savings of the people and you need the mobilization of resources in your country. To be able to have something that is sustainable, because the government has to be able to invest a lot in infrastructure. You need the water, the sanitation, the roads, the connectivity to the cities. You cannot build houses where people have no jobs, you know. So all services, education, health, water, and sanitation, all of that needs investment for a lot of years and at scale. And so you need to complement public sector, private sector, and the international global finance to be able to make it successful.
Actually, these all topics that we are touching, it's all about the development itself, right?
Diversification is
one of the main challenges for the countries, let's say, in our region, especially in our region, is how to move from natural resources toward transformation, toward, let's say, innovation, higher value production, etc. So what's the hardest part of escaping for middle income trap for these countries?
Yeah, you are so right. I come from a middle income country and from a region that is middle income like Latin America and the Caribbean. And we have gone through this question a lot because you need to diversify your economy. Yes, if you continue to be dependent on mining and natural resources, you won't be able to create the jobs that the new generations are demanding. They are more educated. We have invested in education. They are more educated, and suddenly, you have the supply of labor that is more capable, that has more titles and have gone through higher education, and you have no jobs. And that is the main gap. We need to diversify the economy, and diversification is industry, obviously, and manufacturing, but it is also high quality services. And that's why that connects to what we were discussing initially, the connectivity, the hubs, the services, the transport. When you do it at the highest level, it really helps a lot. You will use artificial intelligence to many of the systems, and you need the digital connectivity to be able to be successful, to be a logistical hub. And so you add value also through services of high value. And you can be in the value chain, also with manufacturing and high value services. For that, you need really the private sector. You need a conversation. The private sector many times can tell you exactly why they are not diversifying. You cannot sit in a desk and decide what is it that has to be done. You have to talk to those that are, doing it. And when I was in UNCTAD, we did some of the studies of how to diversify from natural resources. For example, I can tell you we were in Zambia and Namibia that are natural resource based. And we asked the private sector, these are the ideas that we have, why you haven't done it? Why? And they will tell us, the obstacles I have is this, this, and that. And so then you can have a policy that makes sense and that can diversify the country. So you need a dialogue with the private sector, and you need a government that has the capacities to really push for the diversification of the economy.
And Madam Grynspan, actually the final question of our program of Power is about the prediction. But in our previous, let's say, questions, you have already touched this topic, but maybe we can dive deeper. If we look ahead for 5 or 10 years, what's your prediction? I mean, will economy be more, let's say, global, or, as you said, regional or fragmented one?
Well, it's difficult. Let me answer very honestly to you. It depends on our choices. I don't think that the world is going only in one direction. I really believe we are living in an era of contradiction. That's what many call a crossroads. Yes, but in a crossroad, you have choices. You have to choose which road to take. And I think that we need to take the road of stability and cooperation. Uncertainty is very bad for the economy. Yes, if you live in total uncertainty, investment will suffer, trade will suffer, and we will be less prosperous. We will be unable to share more. Yes, if we find the way to cooperate more and to stabilize the perspectives of the economy, so we will be able to make better economic choices, and then the world will be more prosperous. I really believe that we can make that happen, that cooperation and interdependence with the sovereignty of states, as you know, obviously, but cooperation can enhance the possibilities to share the knowledge and the amazing technology breakthroughs and science breakthroughs that are happening in the world. Fragmentation will mean less prosperity, more conflict, and more instability. So I bet for the multilateral system, to be more agile, more useful, closer to the problems of the people, for the UN to reform, to be fit for purpose. But that effort will be a better effort. It will take us to a better place than fragmentation.
Madam Grynspan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.